better team tackle success rate. For the winning side, Darryl Alforts with 2 tries, 7 tackle busts, 106 metres and 2 clean breaks. We'll come back to him. We'll talk about this guy as well. Paul McShane, 40 tackles, 10 mark tackles. Chase Blair with a try and 103 metres. James Clare with 109 metres and 2 clean breaks. For the losing Saints, Tommy Makinson with a try and 145 metres. Regan Grace, 5 tackle busts and 106 metres. James Droby, 43 tackles, and Morgan Knowles with 46 tackles and 14 marker tackles.
Yeah, Carson was first in on this one. He said Saints looked like they kept their security distance for the first 20 minutes, but slowly came back into it after this. LMS proved that he's a grub on the field, as both yellow cards were okay and cost them the game in the end.
St David says, fair to say the transition from Holbrook to Wolf is not going as smoothly as we hoped. Last week we played down the middle. This week we tried to go wide without making ground. We started the second half better, but the second yellow killed us. What is it about Cass and yellow cards? Maybe Saints need to adopt Cass acting skills and hit the deck at every opportunity, holding their heads. He says it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about some of that. Yeah, Helen Gappick said, absolutely outstanding performance from Cass. Danny Richardson and Paul McShane ruled the pitch. Saints shocked me just how poor their discipline was.
And last word on this one to Fat Boy Rob says, the 2017 champions hammered the 18 and 19 champions in one of their best performances of the season so far. Final score probably did flatter Saints, although we did get the benefit of another soft sin binning. Pete was awesome again, and Alforts is looking like the find of the off-season. Our pack was dominant, and it was good to see Walmsley and LMS lose their cool. It's always a pleasure to meet St David, a true gent. Hashtag Coif, hashtag WAGPTL 2017S, hashtag C19WSU.
So the last one's something to do with coronavirus. I don't know what it is though, but the second one is we are gonna. I don't know why he's put we are, but then gone with gonna. But anyway, we are gonna piss the league 2017 style. So you're gonna losing the final? If that's your ambition, Rob, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, let's talk about this game and how good Cass was matched. I feel with how poor Saints were for much of this game.
Yes. My first note is about how physical Cass were, out the gate.
Oh, the pace of Cass out the gate.
Yeah.
The intensity.
Yeah.
Top notch.
They were at it. They were absolutely at it at this one, and I think they just knocked Saints off kilter. I really do. They stood up to their big guys, and in defence they just didn't give them a chance. And in contrast, actually, in terms of things like the play of the ball, they were. I mean, obviously McShane was amazing in this game. I think that's universally being recognised from everyone who was commentating and saw it. He was immense in this game, and the play of the ball speed was just a sign of how dominant it was at dummy half.
Yeah, he was very good. I think the back rowers were very good as well. Mike McMeekin had his most impressive, sort of exciting game for a while, and Chase Blair is revitalised in that position. I know he ended up having to play a bit of centre as well and scored a try, but it was a power try, so it was a bit like his second row running style rather than his centre style a little bit. Grant Millington was good off the bench again. I think Daniel Smith has a strong place in this side as well with what he can do. I think he is a good foil for when Watts has to go off. And yeah, Richardson and Truman did well too. So it was a pretty good all-round performance from the Tigers, led, like you say, by McShane. For Saints, though, I thought in the first 40 minutes that they were really poor. They were really disjointed, and I suppose for the whole game there was an element of it. They did score the best try of the game, I've got to say, when Walmsley set up Thompson at the end. Two powerhouse prop forwards running at you like that, you're going to want to get out of the way.
I think there was an element of frustration in that, though, wasn't it? Because it was, to be fair, it was in garbage time. The game was already gone.
Oh, so. Yeah. Yeah. Noteworthy mention to Daryl Alfords for his second try. I don't think he thought he'd finished it, let alone
Yeah, well, see,
lots of people watching.
No, I've got a note that we need to talk about Daryl Alfords.
Yeah.
Because I know we've some people have called him a League One winger, mentioning no names, but he's performing admirably for this cast side, and again, Powell proves that he can plug anyone in on the wing, and he can make them play, can't he?
It's Powell's ability to make attacking players look their best. I mean, Clare and Alfords are, let's face it, when you look at them, when you see them anywhere else they've played in their career, they're just alright players.
Yes.
But in this cast side, there's something Powell does to make alright players. Like when Gale got there, he was an alright player. When McShane got there, he was an alright player. There's something about how he can turn alright players into attacking wonder stars, and it seems like Daryl Alfords is the latest to benefit from that. And I'm sure if he went somewhere else, he would not be the same.
No, you're right. It's a system. It's the strength of the system, isn't it, rather than the individual moving parts within it. But yeah, no, he's doing his job more than admirably. So well done to him. I thought he was very good.
What about some of the? I feel like the decisions in this game went with the Castleford Tigers, and many times on this show, more so in the first few years probably than we've had to in recent years, I've always said that the team on top gets the big swing of the calls. If a team is that dominant over the other team in the game, any 50-50s are going to go their way. Any need to make a judgment call is going to go their way, and I think that happened in Castleford's favour in this game, and I think obviously went against St Helens in a few parts. I do feel like the Simbin and Matty Lees in isolation for the challenge that happened was very harsh, and I was sort of pointing that out to Rob that they're getting lucky with some of these yellow cards, Fatboy Rob, and he said like actually he thinks the cast players kicking off so much meant the referee had to make a decision because it blew up from just being a poor tackle that's come off the shoulder without great force either. It wasn't like Matty Lees' absolute scumbag tackle against Salford a year and a half ago that set his reputation up to be he smacks fullbacks in the head, which is why he's then, I think, got a sin bin here, because it's blown up. The situation has been reminded in a sort of way that Matty Lees has form for being a bit nasty to fullbacks, and I think that's contributed in this whole piece when really there was worse tackles in this game that went unpunished. I mean, Adam Milner had one on Tommy Makinston sort of 10 minutes into the second half. That was a clean hit around Tommy Makinston's jaw in very similar sort of circumstances, picking up a kick, starting to return it, sort of stumbling a bit and getting cleaned out. But the Saints players just took the penalty and didn't kick off. And also, I suppose, someone else came in with Milner as well, which maybe obscured the initial point of contact being a direct head hit from Adam Milner. But that should have been a sin bin in my eyes. The McCarthy-Scarsbrook one, I think, was fair. It was late, it was dangerous, it was a cheap shot. That's my take on those incidents anyway. Harsh on Lees, but you can't go twatting Niall levels, knocking him out 2 years ago, and having a few other goes at fullbacks in the league without some repercussions. People keen to point out the reputation of Wigan players and other players, so let's point out Matty Lees' reputation there with that. But yeah, LMS's was a cheap shot and deserved what he got.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with either one of your analyses on the yellow cards.
You're supposed to say, what you on about? Matty Lees isn't dirty. That was an aberration that when he knocked out Niall.
Well, we all know very well that players' reputation precedes them onto the pitch, don't we? So we know LMS is going to be a gobbish shite. We know all these things. And yeah, that was a cheap shot and it was late, and particularly because it was on an ex-Saints player and blah blah blah. but yeah, the first one was unlucky from Leeds' point of view. But I can also understand why it was with the speed of it and everything. I can understand why he went where he went to his pocket for the card, because the guy's on the ground with with an obvious head knock, and the cause of that was pretty obvious. So I can understand why he sent him to the bin. But it was harsh, and obviously it hasn't been. I don't think it's been followed up by the judiciary, has it?
Justifiably so. But McCarthy Scarsbrook also had no further action, sin bin sufficient, and probably just about right, because when you look at the contact, his arm sort of followed through towards the head, but it was definitely kind of like chest and shoulder more than head-high contact, wasn't it? But it was just a cheap hit. And straight after, this is the point I want to make about that, rather than like that it was dirty play. How bad was that for St Helens? They got themselves into it with Tommy Makinson's great finish just before half-time. They've had a chance to reassess in the dressing room. No doubt Wolf has said to them, our discipline's been a bit of a shambles, we need to keep on top of that. You just get your mate out of the sin bin, and you go and put a cheap shot on like that. That's going to earn you nothing in the game.
Yeah.
Nothing in the game. And you end up being put in the sin bin as a result of it. We like Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook on this show as a bloke. Now, after we interviewed him, what a chap. But this was not his finest moment, and I'm sure he'll completely agree with that himself. I'm sure in his next 40-20 column he'll talk about how stupid it was.
Yeah, I mean, the one question I have is Wolf's struggles showing how good a coach Holbrook was? Because Saints, other than Percival, obviously as a long-term absentee, this was first choice, wasn't it? Pretty much.
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, Jack Ashworth, arguably, would be first choice, but we won't talk too much about why Jack Ashworth might be in or out of the squad. But Kyle Amor has, been a great player solid player, a very solid player for Saints for a long time now in the Super League. So no slouch. Although he didn't get on till the second half. I just think Cass were more up for this. I think Powell said to him, "This might be our last game for a while. Go out there and be everything you can be." And I don't quite think Saints approached it in the same way. And they were shell-shocked in the first 20 minutes by the Tigers being so good.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were. The Cass were so good at things like, for example, we all know how good Tommy Makinson is at returning the ball. And I know you mentioned about there was a bit of a questionable hit, but they were as much as they were hitting the kind of your Walmsleys and Thompsons of this world, they were hitting people like Makinson, and they were bending them in two. And yeah, you're completely right. They look completely up for this, and Saints were a bit, not quite as bothered.
Watson talked about some of the things he did against Wigan to try and nullify Hastings and French. Well, what Powell's done here is nullified the Walmsley-Thompson effect by putting massive effort, telling the defenders to put massive effort into the first hit on either of them. When they have that, one carries it, then the other carries it, then the first one carries it again, and they make 50 metres in 3 tackles, right? And they totally turn around field position. You can't allow that to happen to yourself on Cass's field. So they targeted that, and that first hit, they put extra emphasis into that first hit on one of those two, right? So that they couldn't get a quick play of the ball, so that the other one didn't get super momentum. Because then you're on the back foot, and you then it's like, well, hopefully we can get to Johnny Lomax before he does something, sort of situation.
Yeah.
And so they actually targeted that so well in this game, and Saints kind of just came with thinking their normal game plan would work, I think, whereas Cass had done something in defence in particular specifically for St Helens, and then thought, right, if we get McMeekan running really wide next to Matautia against the young centre, you're forcing more defence out of Taya and Lomax than they'd like to do, and all of a sudden you're on the front foot. And I just think they worked it really well. Those two areas, tactically, those two areas in particular worked really well.
Yeah, so no, they were good value for this one, definitely.
certainly were. Yep.
And,
what does that do to the standings then?
Well, standings don't matter because apparently that means Cass win now. That's what I've been told today.
We'll revisit that later on, that theory.